Something strange is happening in the slide. Fine. I just tell you. Now, 30 days time is given and 14 days time is given for filing of claims. So all the claimants file their claim before the IRP. IRP decides, collates those claims, prepare a list, and constitutes a committee of creditors. Committee of creditor normally comprises of all financial creditors. And within 30 days, this committee of creditor is to be constituted by all means. And within 7 days of constitution of committee, a first meeting of COC is conducted by the IRP. So in the first meeting, the first agenda item is continuation of IRP as RP, decision of fees of IRP, and decision of fees of RP, and vetting of expenditures during the period of IRP, and reimbursement of CIRP cost or initiation cost to the initiator. So these are the basic first resolutions which are put to vote in the first meeting of COC. Now, the process, if that RP is that IRP is allowed to continue as RP by the COC, then that same IRP continues for the rest of the period if he is not removed under 22, or else if COC resolve that RP should be changed or somebody should replace him as RP, then the COC is obliged or it's under obligation to file an application before the NCLT AA for changing IRP to another person as RP. Till the time new RP is appointed, the IRP should continue to work as RP, but in the status of IRP only, and he has to carry out all the duties which are assigned as RP. So all decision of the committee is normally taken by the 50% voting share, whereas some important decisions are required as the resolution for interim finance or resolution for passing of a resolution plan, evaluation metrics, eligibility criteria, rest all. These are normally passed by 51%. Resolution plan is passed by 66%. Replacement of IRP to another RP or RP to other RP is done by 66% voting. Now, during this period of 180 days, it is a very hectic period for an IRP. He takes all the claims, he verifies each and every claim, he determines the COC, he determines all OC claims, workman claims, and other claims. He prepares an information memorandum. That information memorandum he has to share with each and every CC member, whosoever gives him a declaration of non-disclosure of the IM for any his personal benefits. Then he immediately goes in for preparation of Form G, that is calling of resolution plan. And he side by side prepares evaluation matrix, eligibility criteria, RFRP. And these all operations are basically done by the resolution professionals, which are put before COC for the approval. So once he opens a invitation for resolution plan, then the proposed resolution applicants who are willing to be the resolution applicants, they apply according to the eligibility criteria along with their documents to the RP, who within 10 days has to issue a list of a provisional list of resolution applicants. Then within 5 days, if anybody want to challenge that list for the eligibility of any person or ineligibility, then he can challenge within 5 days. Once that challenge is received, then again within 10 days, the RP has to finalize the final list of resolution applicants.
Virenji,
Anji,
in case of confirming same IRP as RP or
yeah.
replacing IRP with another RP, in
Uh-huh.
that case 66% voting is required. ठीक है जी.
Yes,
In
yes.
all other cases 51% is allowed.
Normally, नहीं जैसे
हाँ,
entire finance चाहिए, then you need 66% voting.
or in case of 12A 90%.
Yes, then it is 90%. 12
90%,
90%
12
if
90%.
हाँ,
Otherwise 66 or 51 is there, na?
गुड पॉइंट आपने याद दिला दिया मेरे को. 12A
Yeah.
is a section where if during if before COC is constituted or even after constitution of COC, now we got many of the cases where the COC by vote of 90% resolve that they don't want to continue with the CIRP and they want to file a withdrawal application. Means the promoter is able to resolve the issue with the initiator as well as with the financial creditors, and he is able to obtain 90% voting in his favor. Then an application is filed under section 12A for withdrawal of CIRP proceedings. Sir, now I am continuing further. So the resolution plans, once the list is final, a 30 days time is given. Within that 30-day time, the resolution applicants prepare a proper resolution plan along with basic amount. They submit it to the resolution professional. That resolution professional now verifies each and every resolution applicant in view of section 29A, and he verifies each and every resolution plan whether it is violative of any of the provisions of IBC as well as violative of any of the existing provisions of any law for the time being. So that has to pass the muster of section 30 subsection 2. So all the resolution plans which are received by a resolution applicant, that resolution professional, the resolution professional is supposed to put all those resolution plans before the COC for its final approval or rejection. So all those resolution plans which are put before the COC, so COC then takes a view whether to accept or reject a resolution plan. So if a resolution plan is accepted out of all the resolution plans, then the resolution professional's earnest responsibility in that meeting is he records the minutes very specific and properly. He records the reasons for rejection of all other resolution plans and acceptance of the resolution plan, its economic viability, everything in the minutes itself. And he puts that resolution plan in the shape of application before NCLT for approval. So once the application is put before the NCLT for approval of a resolution plan, and if under section 31, the NCLT approves the resolution plan, the moratorium comes to an end. So once a resolution plan is passed, moratorium is automatically over and a resolution plan comes into implementation. So another scenario could be none of the resolution plan is received or the resolution plans received are not acceptable to the COC. So if none of the resolution plan is there or none of the resolution plan is accepted and the time has lapsed and no resolution is passed by COC even for the liquidation, the NCLT has to suo motu pass an order of liquidation of that particular CD. or COC passes a resolution that none of the resolution applicant is good enough to resolve this company, and the resolution plan is not acceptable, and company should be put to liquidation. Then the RP files an application for liquidation of the company before NCLT, and a liquidation order is passed by the NCLT, and moratorium comes to an end, and the liquidation is kicked into. Now, any of the order of the AA can be challenged before NCLT, and that challenge has to happen within 30 days of passing of that particular order. And at the most, 15 more days can be provided to that person if he is able to file and satisfy the 80 reasons for his delay. So in all, maximum 45 days. 30 days is the normal time. 15 days extra time is given to prove why he was unable to file the application. The moratorium I have already discussed. सर ये टाइमलाइन इन डिटेल थोड़ी सी यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो. पब्लिक अनाउंसमेंट विद इन 3 days करनी पड़ती है आरपी को. सबमिशन ऑफ क्लेम्स विद इन 14 days होते हैं ऑफ द अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ आईआरपी. मैक्सिमम 90 days तक जा सकते हैं. 14 days इज द नॉर्मल टाइम. Verification of claims within 7 days of filing of claim. Then application for appointment of AR. There are some particular cases just like home buyers, FD holders. In that particular case, a authorized representative is to be appointed as person who will represent these class of creditors before the COC. Means their representative in COC. So he has to be within 2 days from the verification of claims. 3 persons' name is provided by the RP to all these class of creditors. Out of those 3, they can vote for any 1 or 2 or 3. जो सबसे हाईएस्ट वोट लेके आता है उसके लिए एप्लीकेशन आरपी फाइल करता है एनसीएलटी में टू बी अपॉइंटेड एज authorized representative of that class of creditors. So within 23 days, we certify constitution of COC. Then within 7 days of constitution of COC, we conduct our first COC. Then a resolution for appointment of RP is passed, either IRP to RP or a fresh RP in the first meeting. On approval of AA, if there is a replacement of RP, new RP comes into. Till that, IRP performs the functions of RP. Then once RP is appointed, he appoints a valuer. Within 7 days of RP, that is after conclusion of first COC meeting, within 7 days, RP appoints 2 valuers for each class of asset. Then submission of application for withdrawal, that is under 12A, before issue of expression of interest. But even before resolution or liquidation resolution passed by COC, even the benches are accepting now this application. जैसे 90% of the majority in COC passes and for an application under 12A for withdrawal, the within 3 days of that approval, that application has to be filed with NCLT. Now, another important thing, there are 4 sections under IBC, that is section 43, section 45, section 50, and section 66. These 4 are very dangerous sections, and RP has to form an opinion on preferential and other fraudulent transactions within 75 days of commencement of CIRP proceedings. When the RP makes a determination of preferential or fraudulent transaction, then within 115 days of commencement of CIRP, he has to form his opinion and make the determination of that fraud. And within 135 days, means after 115 days, once he has arrived at a figures, he has to file an application before AA within 135 days of commencement of CIRP for appropriate relief. Then submission of information memorandum to COC. So within 2 weeks of appointment of RP, 30 दिन के 15 दिन के अंदर अंदर IM बन जाना चाहिए, or it should be submitted to COC. They should provide the declaration and it will be provided electronically to each and every member of COC. Then form G, that is invitation for resolution applicants within 75 days of commencement of CIRP. Provisional list, I have already discussed. Submission of objection, then final list, then RFRP is issued, and 30 days is given for the resolution plan. So almost 135 days are lost till the time we are in possession of our any resolution plan. So sir, जहाँ तक CIRP थी मैंने आपको समझा दी. Now there are two important then what happens if the resolution fails, the liquidation kicks into being. When NCLT doesn't receive resolution plan or CIRP period has lapsed or NCLT rejects the plan or COC decides to liquidate it or the debtor contravenes the plan which was posted. अगर कोई चैट बॉक्स में क्वेश्चन डाल रहा है तो मैं अभी स्क्रीन पे नहीं देख पा रहा, तो काइंडली मेरे से सीधा पूछ लीजिएगा. So in these particular circumstances, the liquidation is initiated immediately. So under section 33, the liquidation is initiated and the tribunal has to do three things. It has to pass the order of liquidation, then issue public announcement stating the corporate debtor is under liquidation, then order to be sent to AA with which the CD is registered. Here again, we issue Form B, that is the announcement of liquidation within 5 days of appointment of liquidator. We invite the claims from the stakeholders. Last date of submission of claim under liquidation is 30 days. Now here, there is amendment in liquidation regulation. Earlier, it was always the fresh claims were submitted before the liquidator. Now there is a provision, either the fresh claim can be submitted before the liquidator or the existing claim which was submitted during CIRP period can be amended till the liquidation date. Now, moratorium under section 14 ends, but another small moratorium kind of thing is provided under section 33 subsection 5. So here the difference is no suit or other legal proceedings shall be instituted by or against the corporate debtor. So what is difference between moratorium under CIRP and moratorium under liquidation? Moratorium under liquidation is no new suit, new legal proceedings can be initiated, instituted by or against the CD. But section 14 moratorium under CIRP is any existing no new proceedings, no execution, no order execution, no decree execution can happen during that period. So that is the basic difference. But in liquidation, only no suit or legal proceedings new can be initiated. So old proceedings will again kickstart in liquidation. So any legal suit, if liquidator want to initiate, then he has to approve a prior permission of double A for initiating any suit against any person. Now, what other thing the liquidation order does, and what is the main difference? It is a deemed notice of discharge or officers, employees, and workmen of CD, except if business is a continuing during under liquidation. So, under CIRP, the powers of the board are suspended, but the board continues. Means only powers of the board are taken away, their responsibilities are there, and directors are there. Once liquidation order is passed, the board is discharged, they cease to exist, and the liquidator has to do each and everything in his own name under his letter. So whosoever liquidator is appointed, fee is to be paid. The fees is decided now due to regulation 39 C D. It is to be decided by the COC in the last meeting if the liquidation resolution is passed. Even if the liquidation resolution is not passed, the resolution plan is passed. We put all those resolutions of regulation 39 in operation in the last meeting. So who will be the liquidator? How much fees he will be paid? How it will be paid is decided in those resolutions. If nothing is declared over there, no resolution is passed, then regulation 4 of the liquidation regulations provide for a chart of fees of liquidator. That is, within what period, if he realizes and distributes, will be distributed as fees to the liquidator is provided for. तो एलिजिबिलिटी कंडीशन मैं आपको ये सब भेज दूंगा, ये सिंपल है, पढ़ लीजिएगा. Now, section 35, that is the powers and duties of the liquidator. He has to verify the claims. He has to take custody of all assets and property. He has to take custody of all the assets, property, effects, and actionable claims. He has to take the valuation of the property of the CD. Now, there is an amendment in the liquidation regulations 35. Earlier, the liquidator was supposed to appoint the valuers. Now, if the valuation has already been done under CIRP, then that value will be taken as the liquidation valuation. But if liquidator is of the opinion that the valuation should be again conducted, then within 7 days, he has to appoint the valuers and conduct the valuation. He has to protect and preserve all the assets. He has to carry on the business for the beneficial liquidation as a going concern. He has the right to sell the immovable property by public auction, by e-auction only. He has to sign the checks and operate the bank accounts in his own name now. Now he can obtain any professional assistance. He can invite and settle claim, institute defense suits, investigate the financial affairs of CD under those 4 sections. He can execute any papers. He has to perform all the acts which are performed by basically directors. He can sell his in his name, and under his signature the properties are transferred. Now there are some important reportings which are to be done by the liquidator. That is, preliminary report he has to file within 75 days of start of liquidation. This is very important report. In this report, he tells what kind of assets, what kind of liabilities, kind of claims he has received. Then he has to give the asset memorandum in this particular report, what kind of asset he has received, what kind of evaluation has been arrived at for those assets, and how he proposed to sell that assets and what he is expecting out of those assets, what value realization he is expecting, and what is his estimated cost of liquidation is that. So all these things are declared in preliminary report. Then every quarter, within 15 days from the end of each quarter, he has to file the progress report. And every 31st March closing quarter report is to be filed with the audited receipt and payment accounts within 15 days only. Then he has to file the sale report of all assets, and any minutes of consultation he do with the stakeholders he has to file and keep the record, and he has to file a final report prior to the resolution that everything has been recovered or distributed or in physical distribution has happened, nothing remains, and the CD should be dissolved. So, sir, within 1 hour, whatsoever justification I could do to the subject, I try to do. So kindly ask any questions if you have. Hello.
Thank you, Jain Saab, for the deliberation.
Yes, sir. Anybody want some question or something?
Sir, at present, I think I had few questions to put on, but the way it was, I think, taken forward, I could, maybe it was my error. I could just see your presentation and I could find my answers. Must
Okay.
thank you for that.
Okay, that's good, sir.
Sir, humble request, as said to you earlier, if you could just send the detailed presentation, which even if was beyond that 1 hour, it was a full session. You know, as said earlier, we could really
I'll
walk
send
through.
this presentation only.
Right, sir. Must appreciate.
So can you give me the email ID on which I have to send, or should I send it on WhatsApp or something?
So you may send on WhatsApp group. I think Amitosh ji, we can take from WhatsApp group. Am I right?
Right, sir. Right. You can take it from WhatsApp, sir. Vrinjan,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. I think
You can put it on.
sir, Amitosh ji ne ठीक बोला. We can take it from the WhatsApp group only, sir.
Okay, I'll send it in the WhatsApp group.
जी.
Fine.